Hey, so today we're talking about the right way to set up goals in 2023 so that you're going to set yourself up for success and explode your business growth and your ability to create the results that you want. The way momentum and results are built in life and business is usually really slowly and then all of a sudden. So oftentimes we're focused on results and our identity and our sense of self-worth is totally wrapped up in them to the point where we actually are blocking our ability to receive them. So my purpose today is to show you how to set up goals in a way that feels good inside you and allows you to actually easily receive and get out of the way of actually receiving what you desire so that you can create the results that you're aiming for without resistance and without sabotage. Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ilsa. Feel free to say hi to me. Let me know where you're watching from. It's always nice to connect. I am in Boulder, Colorado, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day today. So here's a little more about me. I'm a spiritual nerd, absolute nerd, bookworm, dog mama, and professionally, I'm a licensed psychotherapist in private practice for over 15 years, and I'm also an expansion expert and strategist for soulful entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. I essentially marry nervous system expansion and recoding work with simple business strategies mixed in with a little soul work to rewire you and your business for easeful and delightful business growth, which includes effortless client attraction, increased visibility and influence, and of course, confident high ticket sales and wealth. So today the topic is how to set up and achieve your goals in the upcoming year and how to do it in a way where you're completely you get out of the way of your results essentially, and you get to create the transformation you desire in the world and bring in the money you deserve with a lot more ease and a lot more speed. So before I jump in, I want to let you know that I've got a few spots left for this year for my Wired for Wealth clarity calls to explore rewiring you and your business for easeful and enjoyable client attraction and wealth. So if you're ready to totally shift how you show up, who you are, what you create tangibly in your business, and you want to do it in a way that's easeful so you can receive more exquisite fit clients and more money, then just click the link in the description and let's have a chat. All right, so let's get started. Today we're going to do this split in two. The first part of this live is I'm going to really talk to you about the internal perspective, the inner work of achieving results. And then in the second half, I'm going to give you a tangible, practical strategy that you can follow to easefully and enjoyably and successfully reach your goals and create the results you desire. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me because I'm going to go into the inner work part, the setup part quite in depth. And because you have to be able to sustain and be able to receive the results you desire, or it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to block your ability to create them. So achieving goals, getting the results you want is kind of like picking fruits off the tree. If I only tell you how to pick a fruit or how to pick up a fruit, and I don't tell you like essentially how to plant and grow the tree where the fruit comes from, I'm literally setting you up for failure because I'm leaving out 98% of what it requires to have a successful harvest. So what I'm doing today here is I'm telling you, or I'm sharing with you what it takes to create easeful results and to set up goals in a way to create these results, both from the perspective of the inner work and also from the tangible process of like how to do that tangibly and practically. So with goals, you have to start with what I call the invisible work, the inner work. And then you move on to the strategy of the goal process. If you skip the inner work, it's literally part of that sabotage that's kept you stuck. So like I described this right, like that was my first line when I started this live, was like this concept that momentum, results, and by essentially they happen oftentimes very slowly, and then they happen all of a sudden, like a tipping point. And our big job in creating the results we want is to essentially get out of the way so we don't keep pushing that tipping point further and further away. So, what is it that pushes that tipping point away? Fear, feeling sorry for ourselves, suddenly feeling afraid of the cost or sacrifice of success. People don't realize how many of us sabotage our results because we're actually afraid of success. We're not as much afraid of failure as we are success. We feel like there's going to be a cost to the success. What will I have to give up? Who will I leave behind? How will I be judged or criticized if I succeed? So that's one aspect of that block. Being afraid of failure. What if it doesn't work? Creates doubt. That doubt is a killer to our ability to create the results we want. And then deciding too soon. This is really important. Deciding too soon that it's not working, which leads us to, one, again, that doubt. And it also leads us to start pivoting or start doing different things. And we're diluting our focus, we're diluting our power. And that's when we're following shiny objects, pivoting, and everything falls apart. All the momentum that we had built up to this point start to dwindle and fall away. And I see that all the time. People who will say to me, my clients will say to me, oh, no one's signing up for my workshop, or my launch is not going well. And it's like, you've got days going on. Don't start putting that seed yet. Do not decide it's not working at this juncture. It took me, when I pivoted from having a private practice in Boulder, Colorado, to deciding, this was a little bit before COVID, actually, a little while prior to COVID, that I was going to shift my practice online. It literally took me 9 months to get my first client. And I was sweating. I was like, oh my God, like, did I just close up my practice that was successful to not make any money online? It took a while for that momentum to build. And I actually wasted a lot of energy by pivoting a whole bunch, trying out different things rather than staying focused and in trust of what I was doing. So don't decide too soon that what you're doing is not working. That is the number one reason people don't reach their goals. So momentum and creating results is a little bit like a tsunami, or like growing mushrooms, or even boiling water. Oftentimes nothing's happening for a while, and then everything happens all at once. I'm going to give you a story. This is a true story. One of my clients that I was working with decided he wanted to grow mushrooms. And so he bought the entire kit, he bought spores, like he did a shit ton of research and started setting up like his whole thing to be able to grow mushrooms. So him and I have a session. I don't know, it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks since he ordered the kit. And I asked him, I said, how's the mushroom growth going? And he said to me, you know what, I must have done something wrong. I'm not seeing anything. It's been 2 weeks and nothing's happened. And I said to him, I said, well, how long is it supposed to take for you to see results? And he said, well, all the research I have done says that I should start seeing mushrooms within 10 days, 2 weeks max. And yesterday was 2 weeks and there's nothing. So I must have done something wrong. It's not working. So, and he said to me, he's like, that's actually what I'm doing this afternoon. I'm going to clean up the whole tank and start over. And I said to him in that moment, one of those moments of insight or intuition, I said to him, well, why don't you wait? Maybe your mushrooms are late bloomers. Like, give it a couple, like you're right at that edge of the max, like give it a couple extra days. Maybe it's something to do with the elevation. We're in Colorado, so we're high up. I was like, maybe the elevation slows down the process. Like, who knows? Like, you've given it 2 weeks. What's an extra couple days? And he's like, yeah, I guess that's fine. I'll just do it this weekend then. And then the next day, he texted me pictures, and it looked like there were thousands of tiny baby mushrooms all over his tanks. Like literally, they came out overnight. They were like the tiniest little things. It was the cutest. And here's what would have happened if he had cleaned out the tank the day before. None of these mushrooms would have had the overnight they needed. Literally, it was nothing, nothing, nothing's happening, and all at once they sprouted, literally. What would have also happened is he would have started again, probably had the same results, and decided that the spores were wrong or something wasn't working, and potentially never grew any mushrooms. So this is the way our results in business happens a lot of the time as well. It's like boiling water. Nothing's happening, and then suddenly water's overflowing from the pot. And we have to be our big work. This is the roots that I'm talking about. This is the inner work. Our big work is we have to be able to, and willing to hold ourselves through that drought. We have to be able to hold ourselves through the bridge, the transition between nothing is happening and that tipping point of momentum and results showing up. We have to be able, during that phase where it feels like all your efforts are for nothing, you have to be able to work with all the contractions within your nervous system, everything that's coming up, all the wounding that's coming up that brings up doubt, brings up fear, brings up feelings of being abandoned, being rejected, being denied, like all the stuff that we all experience as part of being human. Business is a crucible for healing because it's going to bring up all your shit. So our big work, your big work, is to support these wounded parts of you and bring them back into regulation, bring them back into relaxation, bring your nervous system back into receptivity, into trust, so that you can help these parts of you that are getting freaked out when they're not seeing results quickly enough. You can help them remain in resonance with what it is that you desire. Here's the thing with the nervous system. One of the big work I do with my clients is I help them get the nervous system to be expanded and regulated enough that it's in resonance, it's in alignment with what it is they want to create. If what you want to create is something that feels like this, that's expanded, that's big, that's juicy, and your nervous system is like this, you will not be able to create it no matter what you do. So that's the first work, is always bringing all these parts of us to be in resonance with the results you seek. You have to essentially be in resonance with the wave of the tsunami before the wave comes, before you ever see a hint of the wave. You know how a tsunami is? It's like everything gets really quiet, the water actually recedes, and you're like, what the hell? I'm waiting for a wave, but like this is worse than a wave. There's nothing happening. And at first it feels like it's almost going backwards, and then the wave comes. Results in business are very similar to that. And our big job is to hold on to our certainty, hold on to our expansion, hold on to the energetic resonance of what we want to create before we ever get a whiff of it, before we ever get a hint of it. If not, we will sabotage it right before we actually see the tipping point of the results we want to make, right before your goals are about to come to fruition. Money work is body work. Business work is body work. It's not just in mindset. It's not just in belief system. It doesn't happen in journaling or doing all that. Although all those things hurt, it doesn't even happen in energetic work. It's literally about rewiring ourselves in the roots of who we are, in that nervous system, so that we are anchored in certainty, we are anchored in confidence, we are anchored in being receptive. I've seen it over and over with clients who have been at it for years, and their growth is stagnating. They're unable to move past a certain financial ceiling or income ceiling and break through. And speaking to them, it becomes clear to me that at some point of them doing what they were doing, doubt started to arise. And rather than recommitting to their vision, recommitting to their plan, they started to pivot. They started to change niche. They either changed their niche, they decided to get a new certification. Suddenly it's like, okay, my old program's not selling, or my old course not selling. I'm going to create a new course or a new program. Rather than doing the hard work of being visible, they're playing on their website, like changing their message over and over. Essentially, they're abandoning the strategy that they were in the process of mastering, and they're starting over. And when we do that, what happens is it's like we're waiting for the water to boil, and we're like, why is this thing not boiling? And we're adding cold water, thinking maybe we don't have enough water in there. And we're literally sabotaging and starting over. So doubt is the great saboteur. And the inner work is being able to essentially have such blinders and such innate knowing that your results don't matter. You know what's what. And then there's no space for doubt. So when you're creating goals, excuse me, when you're creating goals, first you become, then you do, and finally you receive. This is the way it works. First you become, then you do, and then you receive. So success is like an iceberg or a tree. You only see the tip. You only see what's above the ground or what's above the water. You don't see everything else that's underneath that is absolutely necessary for the tip, for the tree, for the fruits to be there. Those happen in what I call the invisible realm. And the invisible realm, the roots, the ice underneath the water, is actually just as important. Actually, it's more important than what you see above the surface. And that's the work that we have to do so that we can sustain and hold the growth and the results that we want. So for most of us, we think like, okay, I'm going to achieve first. I'm going to reach this goal. And when I have that, when I have this many clients, when I'm making this amount of money, then I'm going to become who I desire to be. Then I'm going to feel what I want to feel, except it's the other way around. It's like trying to plant and grow a tree without building the roots. You can't do it. It dies. It gets blown away. Or having, a tip of the iceberg without the entire thing underneath the surface. You can't have it. If you only see the tip of the iceberg and there's nothing underneath it, what happens is it gets taken off by the current and it melts really quickly. So there's no results that can be sustainably created and maintained with your goals without doing this work that's in the invisible realm and making sure that you've got your roots really anchored. So you can't skip the invisible realm. You have to become the version of you that's literally available and able to execute the plan of the goal, and then available and able to receive. Because there's three things. Well, there's two things to goals, right? There's three things. There's deciding what you want. There's putting a plan of action together, right? Like deciding like, okay, what am I going to do to get what I want? And then three, there's the execution of it. Like you have to actually do the plan. And then four, actually there are four, there's the receiving of the fruits. There's the receiving of the results. Yes, being anchored is absolutely critical. Hey, Sharon. So that's the hardest part for us entrepreneurs. Like it's somewhat easy to figure out what we desire. We can even put a plan of action together. But being able to execute it and being able to actually receive is the hardest part. That's where the invisible realm comes in. So the first part of creating lasting, easeful results, powerful results from goals is to shift from your outward focus to inner focus. Is your nervous system regulated and expanded? How are you showing up? Who are you being? What are you believing? Are your roots deeply anchored? Do the work that's going to make you feel safe, secure, anchored, rooted, whole, confident, certain first. And then you start executing the pathway to your goal. So So far, we've spoken about the importance of becoming the person who's able to receive and allow the success you desire without stressing, without second guessing, without spinning, without pushing or sabotaging your efforts. Now, let's talk about actually what do you do? Like, once you're doing the inner work to feel really deeply anchored in yourself and in the fact that you are safe, you are secure, you are worthy, and you know what you want. Now, how do you set up a goal so that you're successful at getting to the results you want? Here's a funny little paradox about business and life. When you're focused on just showing up in a way that makes you feel proud and good, and you don't actually care about results, you don't care about the external proof of success, that's when the results show up. So, to give you a non business example, let's say you are single and you're wanting to date, and you decide that you're going to go out with your friends and you're going to just do it for the joy of it. You're going to get dressed up because you feel good, because you want to have a good time. You're going to go out, you're going to dance your heart out, you're not looking to meet anyone. That's when the guy shows up, or the woman, depending. That's when the partner shows up, because you are focused on being the most alive version of you, and you don't give a shit about results. There's a surrender, there's a spaciousness in that kind of attitude that actually allows everything that we desire to come to us. The bottom line is, when the fruit is ripe, it falls. So you just need to worry about doing the thing that you need to do to be in that right place, and forget focusing on the fruit itself. If you focus on the fruit itself, that's when you're not watering, you're not fertilizing, you're not weeding, you're not taking care of what you need to take care of. Sharon says she likes the invisible realm. Yeah, we're so caught up with our thoughts, with our worry, and there's a lot of power in that prep work, so that we can show up from that place of real power. When you focus on the fruits, when you focus on the results, automatically you put yourself in contraction. Automatically you put yourself in a position of need, of lack, of scarcity. You can't create abundance from a seed of lack and scarcity. It's going to imbue everything you do with that need, with that lack, with that scarcity. It's out of resonance with the outcome you want. So the fastest and the easiest way to get the results you want is to work on you, to work on your root system first, right? Like, to be anchored in your nervous system from a place of deep conviction and certainty and calm and safety and all of that. And then the strategic aspect of this is you want to focus on what I call process goals rather than result-oriented goals. If you want consistent and fast results, if you want the fruits, then you have to take your focus away from the fruit and you have to focus on the process. What does it take to create the fruits? Like, you have to make results and success about the showing up, about the watering, about the weeding, about the fertilizing. And know that when you take care of your tree, when you do what you're supposed to, fruits show up, and when they're ripe, they fall. And you don't have to worry about the timing or the how. That's none of your business, literally. So here's what you do tangibly. You decide on what you want first, right? Like, how many new clients do you want? What amount of money would you like to make? What new project do you want to focus on in 2023, or whenever you're watching this, in the coming months? Like, what's your goal? Like, what is it you desire? That's first. Then you decide on a simple course of action. What are the few things you need to do tangibly and consistently to maximize your success? What are the few simple things that are going to move the needle for you? And I really recommend people stay super simple with this. You can always do more. What I ask my clients to do usually is, okay, pick what are What's the one thing you're going to do every day? What's the 1 to 2 things you're going to do most days? What's the 3 to 5 things you're going to do every week? Pick a really simple process that you feel, if I do this, there's no way that I'm not ahead. If I go live once a week and I reach out to 4 new people a week, I'm always going to be ahead. Like, you pick something simple that is aligned with you. Don't pick something that's going to be super hard for you to do. And you let it be easy. So you choose the simplest course of action that you feel will move the needle, knowing that if you have space and time and energy to do more, you can do more, but at least you're committed to this type of focus. So that's number 2. Number 3 is you decide that as long as you're doing the inner work of working on your roots and making sure your nervous system is regulated and expanded, and you're essentially aligned from an energetic resonance perspective with what you want to create, and you're staying in certainty, and you're staying in conviction, and you're staying in your commitment, you decide that as long as you're doing the inner work, and as long as you're working the roadmap, you're working those few simple steps that you decided on, that your results are inevitable, and you forget about them. You don't look for proof that it's working. You don't look for external validation. You don't deviate or start to look out there for another path thinking that what you're doing is not working. You simply commit to being the highest, most expanded, most whole, free version of yourself, to show up from that place and to work the plan. You commit to doing that with as much certainty, as much conviction, as much confidence, as much trust as you can muster, and you surrender the rest. The timing and exactly how your results show up is above your pay grade, essentially. It's not something you always have control over. For some of us, it's real quick. For some of us, it takes longer. It has nothing to do with you. You're not doing anything wrong. The worst thing you can do is to start believing that you're doing something wrong and start shifting your focus or pivoting or doing something else. And then you're losing all that momentum that you've been slowly building without being able to see it. Your results are literally on their way to you. Everybody's got a different speed. The tree matures at different speed. The fruits show up and mature at different speed. But what I know for sure is that when the tree is done growing and the fruits are there and they're ripe, they fall. And if you try to pick them sooner, they taste like shit. So don't do it. Just trust in your own process. Trust in your own unfolding. And trust that as long as you're doing your own work, you're working the plan, you're showing up from a place of trust, from a place of alignment, and in your power as much as possible, that fruits are being made and they will fall in the right timing. In many ways, it's kind of like creating results and success is just like losing weight. Some people see results really fast, but then can't sustain it. For others, it's slower. We all come to our lives, to our business, with our own baggage. Cellular baggage, nervous system baggage, our own wounding. And we also come to it with our own potential. We each have our own baggage. We each have our own potential. We each have our own strengths and weaknesses. And we're all working through that. So do not compare yourself to anybody else but yourself. All you need to ask yourself is, am I doing the inner work? Am I keeping my nervous system regulated, expanded? Am I anchored in sovereignty? Am I anchored in certainty? Am I working the plan? Am I doing those few steps that I said I was committed to and staying in alignment with the goal I want to create? And am I wearing blinders and just doing me? And if you're doing these 3 things, your success, your results are inevitable. You get to just relax. So you focus on your root, on your nervous system, on your mindset. You anchor into trust. You anchor into certainty and confidence. You find that safety, that security, that expansion within yourself. You keep working the plan and executing the plan consistently. And if you fall off, you forgive yourself. We're all human. We all need breaks sometimes. You fall off, you forgive yourself, and then you get back on and you just get back to watering, fertilizing, weeding, and knowing that at some point you're going to walk under the tree and a luscious apple is going to fall on your head because the fruit is ripe. So that's, you focus on these two things. And then you move in trust. You move in trust. If you focus your goals on tangible results only, like the amount of discovery calls I'm going to book this month, the amount of money I'm going to make this month, the amount of new clients I'm going to get this month, you're focusing on something to some degree that's out of your control. And what will happen over time is it will erode your confidence, especially if you miss these goals. The truth is, it doesn't matter if it's this month or next month or in 3 months. You just know what you want and know that the results are coming and keep working the plan. So process goals are essentially focused on you. They're focused on something you can control, on like, outer results. They're focused on, like, how are you showing up on social media? How often do you want to show up? In what ways do you want to show up? Like, do you want to do lives? Do you want to do posts? Do you want to just make short videos? Which channel do you want to show up on? Like, what do you want to be known for? Like, what makes you different? What's your golden thread of the work? Are your topics, are you coming back over and over to that golden thread, to that expertise that you want to known for? How many people are you reaching out to on a regular basis? What kind of leader are you being? Process goals. Make sure that there's not a single week that goes by that you're not proud of yourself. And that pride, I showed up, I did what I said I was going to do, even though it was scary, is what builds that expansion, that ability to start being able to receive. It is also what builds that confidence. When I shifted from focusing on results, how many clients am I getting? How many of this am I getting? How many people booked a call with me? And if I wasn't seeing what I wanted, I was all frustrated and when I shifted out of that and I was like, okay, I'm just going to do me. What would feel good to me? What would make me proud of myself? What would make me feel like, fuck, even if I fail, I really did what I said I was going to do. I don't care. Like, I'm proud of me. Everything shifted. That's when I stopped doing like completely free 90-minute discovery or free sessions. I stopped doing a whole bunch of stuff because I was really focused on being in alignment with me and being in alignment with my nervous system and doing the work on the inside, like doing the work of the roots so that the tree could be strong, essentially. And that's when everything started shifting for me. Yeah, spacious. There's a lot of spaciousness in that surrender. Absolutely. And in that spaciousness, in that surrender, that is when you end up with a lot more creativity, a lot more clarity as to what is the right path, what is the right way. The word focus stands for follow one course until successful. So that's usually the first thing I do with clients, even if they're coming to work with me from a nervous system perspective and they want to rewire their nervous system. The first thing I do is I have them pick an intention. I have them pick, something they're wanting, something very specific and tangible they're wanting to create or shift in their lives. And then we create a really simple strategic roadmap for them to follow, like one core message or golden thread to their work, like one offer that they're going to focus on, one type of client that they're going to speak to over and over. One super simple marketing strategy that they can execute on consistently. That's going to be easy to maintain, easy to do for them. And then we do the nervous system work of expanding their nervous system and recoding, rewiring their nervous system so they can receive, so they can stay in that sovereignty, so they can stay in that certainty, so they can stay in that trust and in that feeling safe and secure no matter what. Because it is that certainty that is the fuel of their results. It is that certainty that allows them to actually be open and receptive enough that what they desire can come in, and oftentimes can come in significantly bigger ways that they actually imagined, or in different ways than they imagined. And by the way, that roadmap that I create with my client, we don't change it unless when we're doing the nervous system work, something becomes really clear as they're expanding themselves, as they are rewiring themselves into the truth of their own being, essentially, into who they were, who they truly are beyond the blocks, beyond the woundings. If, as we're doing the nervous system work, they realize that something's out of alignment with the plan that we created. Like, it's not uncommon for example, for people to change their prices when they're working with me. It's not uncommon for people to elevate the work they do. Suddenly, the message is elevated. Who they're working with is elevated. The offer is elevated to some degree or another. Or suddenly because they're shifting their ability to be visible, now suddenly they actually want to do something different in the marketing strategy. So we let the nervous system guide the shift rather than letting doubt. We let expansion guide any changes we make rather than letting doubt lead the changes that we make. So this is my invitations to you. If you have a plan, you set a goal, you set a pathway, before you pivot in any ways, before you go download that next course because you think you have something missing, before you start joining yet another 5-day challenge that's just going to eat up your time and give you nothing tangible in the end, before you even like work with this next mentor who's going to give you a different strategy, I want you to check, are you making these changes? Are you changing niche? Are you changing your offer? Are you changing what you're doing from a place of expansion and certainty and clarity? Or are you doing it from a place of contraction and doubt? From a place of not feeling enough, of not feeling worthy? And if you're changing from there, forget it. Recommit to your original goal, recommit to your original desire, recommit to doing your inner work and meeting the part of you that doesn't feel enough, that is afraid. Do your inner work and keep working the plan and do not pivot. Yes, looking for validation, comparing ourselves to other people, listening to naysayers and to people who are telling you what you should do in your business when it's not their fucking business. Like, all of that are pitfalls. They are sabotage that happen from a place of contraction. So first we become your roots. Then we do watering, fertilizing, weeding, and then finally we receive, harvesting. You become, you work on your roots, you work the plant, you fertilize, you water, you weed, and then you receive, you harvest. And you don't harvest before the fruits are ripe. When they are ripe, they will let you know, they will fall into your hands. You don't have to do shit. You just have to do you and to work the plan and to stay with healthy roots, essentially. So that's what I have for you. If you sense that you are blocking your ease, you're blocking your success, in some ways you're not anchored in your roots. You know, you're like a tree that's that's flying, or a leaf that's flying in the wind. And you're ready to rewire yourself. You're ready to rewire your business for growth, for delight, for wealth, without stressing, without doubt, without second guessing yourself, without pushing or sabotaging. Then I might be the right mentor for you, because I really make wholeness an intrinsic part of success. I don't think you can have one without the other. So if you feel like I could be the right mentor for you, let's chat. You can click the link above and book one of my Wired for Wealth calls. And we'll figure out exactly like what's going on in your nervous system that's blocking you, what needs to be rewired in your business, what's what's the pathway, the roadmap that we need to put in place for you to create your goals, and we'll rewire you. Yeah, doing me. Yeah, Sharon is, that's exactly right. Doing what feels right for you is your path, not doing what somebody else is telling you to do. And finding those answers from within, from that place of expansion, from that place of being really rooted and grounded in your own power. So yeah, if you want to work with me, if you want to rewire yourself, rewire your business for wealth, for easeful client attraction, for visibility, just click in the link in the description and let's get working. Let's make sure that 2023 is your year and is a year where you can really do business in a way that nourishes your soul and your bank account, because it takes both for success. All right, that's what I got for you today. Send you much love. Hope you have a great rest of your week and weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, Sharon.